What is the deal, beautiful people? It's your boy Ramon. This is Lifestyles Defined, and this is the Lumia 950 XL. Yes! So finally, Microsoft makes their way back to the stage with some new hardware after damn near 2 years of absence and pain and suffering and longing for the Windows fanatic in your life. And what an entrance. You know, I'm pretty much satisfied with what I see here. Now, you guys may or may not have seen the Lumia 950 review, which is pretty much the smaller version to this phone with very little compromises. In fact, the only difference is the processor. It's a little bit slower, clocked at a 1.8 instead of a 2 like this guys will get into. And the battery size, which is a 3000 milliamp battery on the smaller version, this one has got a few more 100 milliamps. So to get into it, the design is, this is something that I struggled with on the 950. I thought it was a very ho-hum design. I thought it was very lackluster. You know what? Here, I'm willing to accept it a lot more. And I really had to dig deep to understand why that was. And I still quite can't get why I think the design is more acceptable here, but not on the 950. Maybe it's because of it's just a lot bigger. Well, not a lot, but it is a bit bigger and it's more glass and seemingly more attractive to me. That could be what it is. And also the camera housing on the back is a little different in a 950. But I like the design. Of course, it is not as stunning as something like the Samsung Galaxy S Edge Plus. Say that 6 times fast. Let me know how that works out for you. And it's I guess it's on par with its older brother, the 1520, although not as curved at the back, not as sleek or thin looking. But I think I'm coming around to the design. I quite like it, especially when you look at some of those leather back cases that I forgot the name of the company. Starts with an M, excuse me. That's selling these replaceable covers. So much to get to in this review. Yes, I said replaceable back cover. I think that does a lot to increase the sex appeal, if you will. So again, I'm more forgiving with the design on this. Why not? So on the front, you've got that beautiful 5.7-inch display. The right side, you've got, which I think is part of the more interesting distinctions between the regular 950 and the 950 XL. You have this cluster by the power button. So in the middle and the longest button, of course, is the power button. Then at the top and the bottom, you have your volume buttons. Technically, you can't call them a rocker because they're not on the same button. But that's interesting. That's taken me a little bit to get used to. I think I'm finally fine-tuning my muscle memory to just feel the difference on top of where it lands. But I quite like it. You know, you can operate everything from your thumb as opposed to having to adjust your grip to reach up for the volume rocker. I kind of like it. I think it's a dope attention to detail that we will appreciate. And of course, you have the camera button, the dedicated camera button, which I always love because that gives you the ability to just, you don't even need to turn the screen on the Androids and the iPhone. You used to have to turn the screen on, but then they implemented the ability to pretty much double tap the home button on some phones, and we don't have a home button here. It's all on screen, so it's good to have that dedicated button. Of course, it's good for focusing your shot when shooting pictures as well. You know, I think a dedicated camera button is a dope thing to have in 2015 and on a flagship. To the top of the device, there's pretty much just the auxiliary for your headphones. To the left, it's completely clean, and to the bottom is that USB Type-C charger. This is pretty dope. I like it. It does charge hella quick, same deal as on the 950. and you can't put it in any wrong way. So kudos to that. I can't look forward to the day where my next laptop will be the same type of connector. That's total freedom to me. And on the back of this guy, here's where another distinction between the 950 and the 950 XL exists. The camera cluster is a bit different. On the 950, it had this really pronounced ring around the camera. I was not a big fan of. Here it's a lot more flush. The triple LED flash is actually right next to it in the cluster and the housing itself. To the left of that is this is rather disappointing speaker. If you one of those persons or one of those people who really like a phone for its sound, something like an HTC with the boom sound or the new Nexus with the front firing speakers, don't do it. If that's a big deal to you, look elsewhere. This is very disappointing. Although it does get loud, but the sound is very thin. Not a fan of it. Under that, you've got the Pure View and Zeiss branding. Why not? This camera is no joke. And then you've got that new Windows logo. Missing is the AT&T logo from the 950 I had, because I had the AT&T version of the 950. And yeah, it looks so much cleaner without it. I quite like my clean back. Thank you very much. And then you've got these pinholes at the top, pinholes at the bottom. That's for your video. And then yeah, I think back to the front, you've got that iris scanner off to the left, whereas on the 950 it was to the right, and your front facing camera off to the right. So all in all, I think the design is cool. I came around to it a lot more than I did on the 950, which is sort of silly because they're almost the identical same device. I guess in this case, more glass is just better. It's just better. Coming down to the specs of the device, you will find a Qualcomm Snapdragon 810, which is pretty much the big boy in the smartphone market right now. You will also find 3 gigs of usable RAM and 32 gigabytes of memory for your usage, and there is an expandable slot. Clap, clap, such a big deal. There's also a 3400 milliamp removable battery, folks. Removable battery. So with that removable battery and the expansion for more memory, of course, you know, the back of this guy comes off, and wow, kudos to Microsoft for that. And of course, you've got the USB-C with the fast charging, and I think Microsoft did a good job here. Same deal as I mentioned with the 950, is they made the right decisions in the hardware department. There are no sacrifices in sight. We've got everything. We've got the wireless charging, we've got the expandable memory, the battery. It's all here, you know, on top of the fact that this guy is dual SIM, so I can throw another SIM in here and just rock out. I find that to be interesting because it's my first dual SIM phone, so I'll gladly take that. There's Bluetooth 4.1. There's a bunch of advanced features for the Wi-Fi. It's a good phone. It's very nicely spec'd. I think Microsoft did a good job again at making sure that this thing had everything it was, or everything it needed to be, not only future proof, but to exist in the crazy competitive smartphone market today. If you want to look at the features and what really makes this phone attractive, what makes it stand out, one of the first you would find is the Windows Hello stuff. Now, Windows Hello is sort of this blanket technology over the Windows ecosystem, so you can find this on laptops, tablets, and now phones. Really, the core of it is an extra layer of security that would be personable to you. So it's not a password, it's more like a fingerprint reader or a face scanner, or in this case an iris scanner. Now the iris scanner, I think, is a lot more accurate than something like a face scanner we've seen on the Android phones. It even works in low light. It's this infrared thing that's constantly looking for your eyes, but it still has a long way to go. It is not a replacement for a fingerprint scanner, something that you see on like the Touch ID in Apple or on the Galaxies and all these other new phones. It simply is not as fast as that. On those phones, I can unlock my phone from whatever angle I choose. Here, this guy has to be about a foot away from your face and relatively in a straight-on zone. When it's there, it does work, and I think it is dope. I actually use it a lot, but I would prefer the availability of a fingerprint scanner as well. Maybe something like what Sony did where they put it on a power button. I think that's also dope tech. But yeah, then you come down to the Windows Continuum, which is where Microsoft is advertising the ability to use this phone when docked to a mouse and a keyboard via an adapter as a complete PC experience. There's a lot to be said here. One, it actually does work. When I got the 950, I don't know if you guys, how soon you'll be getting yours, but there's currently an offer to get that dock for free. So if you Windows Central had a link, I'll put that link in the description so you guys can get that dock. It's a $100 dock, and they're giving it away for free on a limited time. So yeah, link in the description below. But when you get this $100 dock, you can plug a USB mouse and keyboard up to it, even thumbsticks, thumb drives, hard drives, USB microphones, your camera. You can put the secure digital cards right up to it. And this thing becomes, when you attach the monitor, it becomes a full PC, right? And that's by and large because it's the same exact code as Windows 10 on your desktop. Now, the thing here is, I wouldn't even call it a caveat. I think it's just something to be aware of. You will not be running Photoshop anytime soon, right? This continuum mode relies heavily on universal apps, meaning Adobe would have to commit to making their Photoshop application available through the market store, marketplace, whatever we call it. And that would then allow us to, use it in such a manner. But they would also have to now do a version of it that scales down to phones, scales up to tablets, and then ultimately a full-fledged version on the PC. Is Adobe gonna do all that work? I don't know. It would be worth it for a lot of people, and it could be worth it for them as well. But I don't know what's the demographic for that. Who's gonna pay for that stuff? I don't know. It's neither here nor there. But that is definitely the struggle when running in continuum mode. You're not just gonna freely go out and install applications and run wild as a PC. Instead, I think it gives you the productivity that you've come to expect on your phone in a form factor that you've come to love in a desktop mode. So it scales your Outlook, it scales your Word, you've got your file manager, you've got your Internet Explorer. You can get some work done, but this is not your laptop replacement. But I think all in all, Windows Continuum is a very dope feature for sure. Let's talk about the camera. Always my favorite part of a device. Now, I want to give a really heartfelt kudos to Microsoft for their decisions on the camera. Included in the 950 and the 950 XL, they are the exact same camera. And I really like that decision because not everyone wants a big ass phone. Not everyone wants a small phone. And I think Sony was the first that started this with the compact version, where it was the exact same specs and internals, all the cutting edge hardware, but in a smaller version. I think that's dope, and I really like to see that those who would opt for the 950 instead of the XL are not having to make a compromise on the camera, because the camera is one of the larger selling points of a Lumia, if not the only selling point. So the camera here it's dope. It's a strong contender. I will be showing you, you can see now, images that are not edited, because in the 950 I actually edited a lot of it because it shoots raw, and raw is a big deal to me. And as a photographer, very rarely is my shot out of the camera the way I see it. I have to do a lot of tweaking, so I run it through Lightroom, I run it through Photoshop, and then that's what you see. And my point with the images that I showed in the 950 review, if you want, you can go check that out. It's the same camera, you know what to expect. It's a very capable camera, and it can give me very satisfactory work. Very impressive, in fact. So here I'm just showing you the raw images, and of course, like I mentioned with the 950 review, I'm going to be doing an episode of Aperture where I focus on photography and videography with this phone, so you guys can really get a sense of what it looks like out of the camera, the processes I use to edit the images, and what they look like when they're done. I think you'll all be very impressed. The camera is dope. So it's a 20 megapixel shooter with the what they're called the sampling, the oversampling, which used to be called lossless zoom. And how that works is the camera actually captures a full 20 megapixel image, but it compresses a lot of that detail and information down into a 16 megapixel image. And then when you start to do a lot of your oversampling, which just means you go in and crop certain areas, it takes that data again, then resamples it into an 8 megapixel image. So no matter what you do, your images are always super sharp, full of detail, full of dynamic range. I wish a lot of DSLRs would really give us this option, man, but they don't. So it's got an aperture of a 1.9, really large aperture, lets in a lot of light. That's always a good thing for nighttime photography. It's got the optical image stabilization, which in combination with such a large aperture means you get a lot of sharp shots in low light and beautiful shots in the daytime. Why not? You've got that triple LED flash, which in my experience is still a goddamn flash. I hate flash photography, but the triple LED flash in combination with what Nokia, I keep saying Nokia, what Microsoft is calling a rich capture, when you fire off that flash, it actually records a bunch of different instances, and that then allows you to go back in rich capture mode and really on a slider dial in how much of the flash you want in that image. I think that's dope technology, man. And again, I'll show off a lot of this stuff in the Aperture episode coming up. It records 4K video. More enticing to me is it records 1080p 60 frames a second, which is what I use for a lot of my videos. 4K is not a big deal right now. And of course, it's got a 5 megapixel front facing camera. Your selfies will love you. So all in all, what do we have here with the Lumia 950 XL? Well, Microsoft pretty much just gave us new hardware that we've been screaming for. And by us, I mean the Windows devout. This is not a consumer device. In fact, this phone launches with beta software. This is not a finished version of Windows Phone, and there's a shit ton of bugs that I've noticed. And thankfully, there aren't the same annoyances that I've noticed when testing the exact same build of Windows Phone on my Lumia 1520. But there are some bugs, and there's a lot of cleaning up to do. And I really look forward to Microsoft continuing the feverish pace that they've been updating the operating system at. And of course, Windows as a service, that means we get a lot of these updates a lot faster. So for people like me and you, and by you again, I mean the Microsoft fans, we can hold on to this. This is what we wanted. We just wanted something a lot quicker, update on the camera, a better design, so on and so forth. And I think they delivered all of that. The design isn't as stunning and as I would have hoped it to be, but it's fine. I've come around to it. I'm gonna get me one of those leather cases and really trick it out. The dual SIM stuff is really dope. For those of you who can't afford to buy that straight off a contract, I really enjoy that. That means I can go on vacation and throw my work SIM in my phone and have just one phone with me, which is kind of cool. You don't want to be walking around with $2,000 phones on vacation, right? Not the smartest thing you could do. I think I would not recommend this to a regular person. Like, my mom's been waiting for these phones, and I just can't do it to her because it's not ready. There's a lot still going on in the back end. Maybe 6 months from now, maybe, but then we don't know where the market will be. So this continues to be a love letter to the fans, and it's what we wanted and it's what they gave us. I would have liked to not see these phones in AT&T and not see them on the store shelves, because I feel like it's someone's gonna go out there and buy these phones because people are consumers. There's always a percentage of people that fall through the cracks and just get what they think, whatever. Now, they're gonna go pick this up, and the experience isn't gonna be what we all know it can be and what it should be. And I feel like we'll end up with maybe not as drastic, but we could end up with another Windows Mobile where it creates this stigma. Like, I tried a Windows Phone once and it was terrible. It took 4 seconds to look at an image after I took it, but like, no, yes, it did, but hang on, they're gonna update the photo app. It's coming. Gabe All said it's coming. They don't give a fuck about Gabe All. They don't know who he is. We do. They don't. So I wish they did some sort of Windows Insider program where it was available to just us and just people who know it, but that's not the way it is. But I think the phone is dope. Those of you who've been waiting for it, I think will love it. I'm gonna do a few comparison videos. One is going to be I'm gonna show you guys, because I recently switched to Android and now I'm back. Fuck Android, I'm done. I'm home, and I'm gonna explain a lot of those decisions and what went on in my head when I made that decision, and then I'm gonna show you what's on my Android phone, and then how I am compromising and making do on my brand new Lumia 950 XL. Anyway, my name is Ramon. It's been a long one. I hope you guys enjoyed the in-depth review. Like the video, it really helps us out. Let us know that you appreciate the work we do here. And subscribe to the channel, man. Stick around. A lot more content coming. I'm out of here. Peace.